maybe we can just start and I'll hopefully get her up and running. And so Bethy Ann, I'm going to move you to the audience for now, and we'll hopefully get it situated. Okay. All right, I'm going to mute myself, and then Jane, feel free to start.
Okay, and if Brett's going to stay on the screen, or am I just all on my own here?
You could, if you want a face to talk to, I'll stay on the screen, and
I'd
then
love to talk to you.
when we get a little further, then I'll start sharing my screen for when we're doing the announcing the nominees for this.
Okay, perfect. For those of you who are wondering what that little conversation was all about, it's maybe you've done this, maybe most of you have done this, but when I talk to you and you are all in the audience, it's just me talking to myself on the screen. It feels very peculiar. And so I love to have somebody that I can make eye contact with, and that person tonight is Brett on my screen. So let us begin. I'm Jane Shapiro, Chair of the Steering Committee of 100 Plus Women Who Care Cheshire County, and welcome to our 20th meeting. Our first meeting was on Monday, November 6th, 2017, making this our 5th birthday, so happy birthday to us. At that inaugural meeting, we had about 75 members who donated $7,800 to our first chosen organization. As of this afternoon, our giving circle is now 307 members, and members have donated, and listen carefully, a total of $301,000, $301,153. I can't say that right. I want to get this right because this is important. $301,153 to 20 chosen organizations and 30 organizations which were nominated but were not chosen. Over $300,000. Now that is something to celebrate. I am just thrilled to make that announcement. I'd like to welcome those who have joined us at or since our last meeting, and they are Dana Wasserbauer, Joanne Dexter, and Charlene Haas. So welcome to the three of you. Let me remind you that this format is a Zoom webinar, slightly different from the Zoom meetings that many of you have been using over the last months. You are the audience, and as such, we do not see or hear you, nor can you see or hear each other, but you can communicate with us with the chat function, which is a little button at the bottom of your screen if you're using a computer that says chat. Simply click on it, type your message, and hit enter or return. If you have a question, a technical question, you can ask it at any time through the chat, and Courtney or Brett will help.
Just click once and wait.
When it's time, Courtney, I think we're hearing something in the background there. Thank you. When it's time for one of our nominators to present, you will see her and hear her on your screen. You can submit your questions regarding her organization via the chat function. Courtney,
All righty.
I'm going to wait just a minute because I think we've got Peg with us, and Courtney's getting her put back into the audience.
I just muted Peg, so while Courtney's doing that, we should be good to go.
Okay, so when it is time for one of our nominators to present, you will see her and hear her on your screen, and you can submit your questions regarding her organization via that chat function. Courtney and Brett will be monitoring the chat, and during the Q&A time, they will read the questions for all of us to hear. After all three presentations, a poll will appear on your screen. If you are a member, simply check your choice, submit the poll, and we will be able to announce the chosen organization at the end of this virtual meeting. As a guest, please do not complete the poll. Only members are allowed to vote. I'd like to acknowledge the work done by the steering committee, which continues to meet safely, keeping our group running smoothly, dealing compassionately and capably with the many bumps in the road. And especially thank Courtney Fougier, and boy, are we really thanking her a lot tonight, there she is. We're just in the middle of thanking you, Courtney, whose dedication and technological expertise enables our group to continue our work on this platform. In addition to Courtney on the steering committee, I thank Brett Thielen, Lisa Marr, Judith Putzel, Bridget Hansel, and Mary Delisle. The steering committee had so hoped that we might be greeting each other in person tonight. We spent a long time discussing that possibility, but ultimately both concern for the safety of our membership and the challenges and logistics of trying to put together a hybrid meeting led us to the decision to make this a webinar once again. We very much appreciate your continued enthusiasm for our mission, your willingness to participate via the virtual platform, and your suggestions and encouraging messages. Thank you all. I have some good news tonight. Each year at their kickoff event, the Monadnock United Way announces a number of what they call Circle of Excellence Awards. I'd like to read the comments made at the September 15th event for the Monadnock United Way. Quote, "The first award that we will be presenting is the Spirit of Monadnock Award. This award is reserved for the individual volunteer or volunteer group who best displays sustained commitment to our community, demonstrating positive impact on community well-being, on the Monadnock United Way, and on our partner agencies and organizations. The recipient for the Better Together campaign's Spirit of Monadnock Award went above and beyond as an organization, displaying continual commitment to the Monadnock region during the COVID pandemic in 2020. Their efforts had and continue to have a positive impact on the well-being of our community and the Monadnock United Way partner agencies and organizations. The Spirit of Monadnock Award went to 100+ Women Who Care, Cheshire County. So congratulations to all of that for that really, really wonderful honor. And thank you to Judith Putzel, who attended the event and accepted the award on our behalf. This is the time where I give you 6 reminders, and I truly appreciate the patience of those who attend every meeting. I know this is repetitive, but believe me, these issues come up and continue to come up between each and every meeting, often from longtime members. Number 1, please use our website as a source of information about donations and how we work. Nearly every question that comes our way is already answered on the website. Brett does a wonderful job of keeping both the website and our Facebook page updated, and she will have this meeting's news posted as soon as possible. If you are a guest and after this meeting you decide you would like to join, you will find the commitment form on the website. Simply fill it out, send it into the email or SNAIL address on the form. Our website address is 100pluswomencheshirecounty.com, 100plus womencheshirecounty.com. Again, that's on the website. Number 2, this is a reminder that you can put February's and all of 2022's meetings on your calendar now. We always meet on the first Monday of February, May, August, and November. So our next meeting is Monday, February 7th. Number 3, we are part of a network of over 700 chapters from all over the US and some other countries, at least 10 other countries. Our chapter's name is 100+ Women Who Care, Cheshire County. We have a sister chapter in Peterborough, whose name is 100+ Women Who Care, Monadnock. When our members see articles in the paper, it can be confusing. So just remember that we are Cheshire County. Number 4, only members can submit nominations and only members can present a nomination at a meeting. Again, the nomination instructions are on the website. Nominators can invite a non-100+ Women Cheshire County member from their organization to assist them during the Q&A portion, and that's going to be happening this evening. Number 5, making your donations online is an option for members. when it is available through the chosen organization. In August, over 80 of our members donated this way. I will give you more detailed instructions before I announce the name of our chosen organization at the end of the meeting. If you do send a check, do not make your check out to 100+ women who care. It must be made out to the chosen organization, the name of which you will learn tonight, and which will also be listed on our website and Facebook page very shortly. I emphasize that getting those checks in right away really, really, really makes our work easier and enables the chosen organization to put your donation to work sooner. So please don't delay. Please get the checks in as soon as possible. I know I'm preaching to the choir here for those of you who are at the meeting, but it sure does help us. I'm very pleased to report that we just set a new quarterly record at our August meeting, giving $18,512 to the Keene Health Center of Planned Parenthood of Northern New England, as well as an extra $600 to Monadnock Humane Society, $325 to Cheshire Children's Museum, and $25 to Project Home, a total for one quarterly meeting of $19,462. Way to go, women of our giving circle. That's just fabulous. And this means, and I said this a little earlier, but I'll give you a little more detail. This means that since our inception in 2016, we have given a total of $285,222 to 20 chosen organizations, and an additional $15,981 to 30 organizations which were nominated but not chosen, a grand total, as I said before, of $301,153. And now for this evening's nominations. Each quarter, we receive nominations of wonderful organizations and programs that serve our vulnerable citizens and animal friends, enrich our children and our entire community through the arts and through connection to the natural world around us, or strengthen our local safety nets and resources. I love that each and every time we have new organizations nominated, and that's the case tonight too. You will note that several have been nominated previously. Our policy is that chosen organizations need to wait 2 years before they are nominated again. And we're constantly looking at that policy and seeing if it's continuing to serve us well. Organizations that present, chosen to present, but were not chosen organizations are nominated again, can be nominated again at any time. One of the many things that makes our group shine is that at each and every meeting, all of you arrive with your minds and hearts open, anxious to learn which 3 organizations were chosen to present. Listen carefully to the presenters, ask intelligent questions, make your choice, and then celebrate the organization that is chosen. We received 10 nominations for this evening's consideration, and they are, let me get my papers here. MCVP, nominated by Robin Christofferson. MCVP Crisis and Prevention Center, the Domestic and Sexual Violence and Stalking, let me start again. MCVP, Crisis and Prevention Center, the Domestic and Sexual Violence and Stalking Crisis Center for the 44 towns of the Monadnock region, seeks funding for our Economic Justice Fund. Secondly, Feeding Tiny Tummies, nominated by Marcia Levesque. Feeding Tiny Tummies is a program that provides meals to children in over 16 locations through the area. They seek funding to replace and upgrade the computer and internet system and establish a volunteer fund. Ashwillet Concerts, nominated by Louisa Stonehill. Ashwillet Concerts is an organization which promotes live classical music as a powerful force for good in our community. We seek funding for live performances in local schools. Number 4, Mount Caesar Union Library, nominated by Kathy Habibi. Mount Caesar Union Library is a Swansea public library. We seek funding for reinforcing the 3 floors of our building. You Are Not Alone, which goes by YANA Center, nominated by Jenny Grizka. Yana Center, YANA Center, is an organization which supports the spiritual and mental health of people in recovery from addiction. They seek funding to provide programming for those who wish to recover in a substance-free environment. The Community Kitchen, nominated by Phoebe Bray. The Community Kitchen, an organization which provides food access to those in need, seeks funding for their mobile food pantry, which will take the pantry program and reach vulnerable communities where they live. Cheshire Children's Museum, nominated by Deb Ganley. Cheshire Children's Museum for All, which provides hands-on educational experiences for children through the power of play, seeks funding. I'm sorry, I lost my place. Seeks funding for the continuation and expansion of social service agency outreach, allowing all children access to the museum. Monadnock Humane Society, nominated by Kathy Collinsworth. Monadnock Humane Society cares for stray and surrendered animals, assists with cruelty, helps financially challenged community members through our food pantry program, and more. They are seeking funding for their Animal Safety Net program. Making Community Charter School, also known as MC Squared Charter School, nominated by Eileen Sarson. MC Squared Charter School supports high school students as they discover their unique gifts and talents to become college, work, and life ready. This funding will fit out our new permanent location in Keene. And number 10, MAPS Counseling Services, nominated by Peg Monahan. MAPS Counseling Service will expand access to mental health care for children and adults who receive Medicaid support by hiring new clinicians entering the field who have completed academic programs but still need clinical supervision. So those were our 10 nominees. Unlike our in-person meetings where we select the 3 organizations who are going to present right in front of you at the meeting, we've done that in advance in order to try our best to make sure that the technology works for all of our presenters. And it, for the most part, did tonight. and up as of this moment, it is so. So the 3 organizations in the order that they will present are, number 1, MAPS Counseling Services, nominated and presented by Peg Monahan. Peg will be joined by Beth Ann Klaus for Q&A. Number 2, the Community Kitchen, nominated by Phoebe Bray. Sarah Harpster will join Phoebe in making the presentation. Number 3, Making Community Charter School, also known as MC Squared Charter School, nominated and presented by Eileen Sarson, and Elizabeth Cardine will join her for Q&A. So now let me introduce Peg Monahan to give us our first presentation. Thanks.
She should be coming on. Yay. Oh. Hopefully. Peg, are you there? There you are.
Okay, here I am.
Okay, great.
Hi, I'm Peg Monahan, and I represent MAPS Counseling Services. I've been on their board as treasurer for 6 years. This is a request to increase financial support by expanding MAPS clinical residency program. This will increase access for low-income children and adults. I'm asking you to imagine a child named Christine. She lives in Marlborough with her grandmother, Harriet, who is recovering from COVID-19. Harriet doesn't drive. It's tough getting to counseling. School is hard as there's no computer at home. They receive Medicaid. Aunt Gloria, who fortunately lives in Keene, finds time to bring Christine to MAPS. Christine is depressed, withdrawn, morbidly obese, and has a hard time in social situations. Christine is assigned to the MAPS Residence Counseling Program. MAPS clinical residents are paid by Medicaid. They have completed a graduate degree, but are not yet licensed by the state of New Hampshire. Clinical residents need to be supervised by a licensed psychotherapist for 1 to 2 years. MAPS provides both supervision and salaries. Since Medicaid pays significantly less than traditional insurance, it's not enough to cover the cost of recruiting, overhead, salary for supervisors. And MAPS is unique by serving so many Medicaid clients. Many independent psychotherapists can earn up to 50% more by only accepting traditional insurance. They choose not to accept Medicaid clients because the Medicaid reimbursement is so low. Without MAPS, Christine may not be able to find a therapist in our region and may give up hope. At MAPS, every week, there are 15 to 20 children like Christine not served because there are just not enough clinicians. The pandemic has created more stresses for children and youth, stresses like anxiety, depression, family conflict, suicidal thoughts. Children like Christine fall behind. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for children. 12 deaths per 100,000, and we have roughly 60,000 children in the Monadnock region. We are hoping Christine will not be one of those statistics. MAPS has served as a mental health center since 1973 in Peterborough and in Keene. They are also on telehealth. Its mission is to help people navigate life's challenges, caring for the mind, heart, body, and spirit. Its budget is $1 million this year and likely to be about 1.3 million next year. Most of its income comes from traditional insurance and Medicaid and fundraisers and donations. MAPS provides over 10,000 therapy sessions annually. It has 21 clinicians total. A clinical resident can serve 18 to 20 people like Christine on Medicaid. MAPS and other mental health agencies in New Hampshire are all functioning with staff shortage. This program expands the number of mental health clinicians. Supervision and training is needed for these clinicians to receive a New Hampshire license. Christine is fortunate to have a clinical resident as her counselor. By the way, Christine is a composite of a typical youth. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peg. And so now Peg is going to be joined by, there you are, Beth Ann, for question and answer. And Courtney and Brett will be reading the questions that are coming through the chat function. So if you have a question for Peg or Beth Ann, and Beth Ann, do you want to introduce yourself before we start the Q&A, or Peg, if you'd like to introduce her?
Beth Ann is the Executive Director of MAPS Counseling Services.
Thanks.
Great. So the first question we have is, what is the difference between MAPS and MFS?
That's a great question. MFS, Monadnock Family Services, is the local community mental health center. They are one of the state agencies that are placed throughout the state that provide therapeutic services and multi-level care. MAPS is a nonprofit private center. We don't offer psychiatry or case management. We are specifically a mental health center, focusing on our specialty of that therapeutic session and therapeutic relationship with our individual clients. So we are not the community mental health center. We are a large private group practice with a nonprofit status and a commitment and a mission to serve our community.
Okay. Does your, there's kind of like a piggyback question about that. In terms of the population served, do you serve the same population?
I think that we work cooperatively in that there are certain clients who are more MFS clients who need that wraparound level of care. MAPS are the people who often fall in the crack between the people who are may not have the financial resources to see a private practice clinician, but they may not, like adults, for example, unless they meet a certain criteria for severely persistently mentally ill, are not always eligible for services at MFS. So MAPS would be a place where they would be seen. And MAPS also serves a lot of the children in addition to MFS, because MFS, like us and many other places, are working with a staff shortage and don't have enough clinicians to go around.
Thank you. Is there a pastoral element to MAPS?
MAPS has a long history of spiritually integrated practice, but we no longer embrace the pastoral lens specifically. So as Peg offered, our mission statement is navigating life's challenges, caring for the mind, heart, body, and spirit. So we still are committed to attending to the whole of an individual person and considering spiritual healing as a part of that. But we support any person in the level of spirituality or religion that is comfortable for them. We don't have pastoral counseling per se.
Just a reminder, if you have a question, you can type it in the chat function. I had Betsy raised her hand, but I'm not sure if there's a question. So here came one. Are there clinical counselors looking for an agency to work with, and what type of education are the counselors from?
Well, with the workforce shortage in our community, there are not a lot of individuals that we know of that are out there looking for a job. We're having to try to find them. Unfortunately, like teachers and some other helper professionals, quite a few left the field in the pandemic because of the stress for the helpers. So the residencies program specifically is trying to help build the workforce by bringing on new clinicians. So we have a strong partnership with groups like Antioch University for folks who are completing their clinical academic programs and are ready to start their clinical practice after their degree is complete. And that's what the residency program specifically targets, is trying to build and invest in the next generations of clinicians, because we don't have a lot of people knocking on our door and applying for positions, which is why we need extra help to recruit more people and try to train more to get them in the field.
Exactly how would the money be used?
Well, as Peg was talking about, sorry, I'm kind of answering all the questions. Is that okay?
Yep, fine.
All right, okay.
Okay. So as Peg was talking about, Medicaid's reimbursement rates are so low that a lot of private practice folks are choosing to not take Medicaid because you have to figure out a way to subsidize it. So the money from the 100+ women we would use to train additional of our current staff to be approved licensed supervisors so that they can provide the level of supervision that's necessary for our clinical residents. And then we would also use the funds to recruit additional clinical residents, and then hopefully even subsidize part of their income to make it more attractive for them to come into the field, because unfortunately, being a mental health clinician is currently the lowest paid profession that requires a master's degree. So it's not a field that usually draws people in for money, and they have to find some other way to supplement the good work of doing mental health counseling. So we would like to be able to pay them a fair wage, because residents can only see Medicaid clients. So we don't have another way to kind of boost their income.
Children are not.
Let me
oh,
just
sorry.
interrupt here. I see we have 2 more questions. So if we will answer those 2 questions, and then I think if you'll answer them briefly, then the time for Q&A will be over.
Children are not your only clients. Who else are you serving? And is there a limit to the number of visits for any individual client? How do people get referred to you?
Our referrals are often word of mouth, self-referred, or from doctors. So anybody can get referred. It's usually a service that's paid for by their insurance company. Currently, very few insurances are putting a cap on the number of services provided. And so as long as we can continue to bill the service specifically to Medicaid, which Medicaid are not currently capping that for mental health services. Thankfully, they just don't pay very much for the services that we do offer. So they can continue to reach services as long as they need them. As far as well, there was another part of that question. Who else do we serve in addition to children? Yes, we serve children, individual adults, couples, family counseling. We do offer a few other groups as well, but anybody who's needing mental health services, we are not exclusive. There's no specific criteria that someone has to fit in order to be a client at MAPS.
And then the last question was, what other services do you offer?
Primarily that individual therapeutic hour, or family counseling. In addition to that, we do offer some support groups, cancer support group, a support group for grandparents, raising grandchildren, and some other psychological testing program that we have here. And there's a few other supplemental additional services that are in the family of mental health counseling.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Yes, thank you, Peg and Beth Ann.
Thank you. It's a wonderful opportunity. Thank you.
All right.
So our second organization to be presented tonight is the Community Kitchen, and it will be presented by Phoebe Bray and Sarah Harpster.
Yes. Just moving them up. Hopefully. Great. All right. Oh, there you
Okay,
go.
thank you. Take it away.
Hi, my name is Phoebe Bray. The Community Kitchen was formed by a group of like-minded people in 1983 who served 3 congregate meals a week in St. James, the UCC, and the Unitarian Church in Keene. This continued for years, but when people began asking to take leftovers home, it became clear the whole problem wasn't being addressed. So the take-home food boxes were added, which became the pantry program. The first distribution, anecdotally, took place out of the back of a pickup on Church and Main. Storage instantly became a problem, and a multi-year capital campaign was launched. The organization was able to buy their building on Mechanic Street in 1994, but then had to raise the money to renovate what had been a bowling alley, a motorcycle repair shop, and Sears tire and battery retail store into a commercial kitchen, dining room, with offices and food storage. This took another couple of years, but the Community Kitchen opened for business in their own building in the January of 1998. The organization is quite rightly proud of what they have achieved. They are unusual in that they have 2 programs operating from the same building, but the programs are static. They are reactive, and the COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted what they had already, what was already known. A mobile food pantry is necessary for this region. I'm now going to hand over to Sarah Harpster.
So thank you, Phoebe. It's great to know that the Community Kitchen has been such a resource in our community for all of these years. So why do we need to add a mobile food pantry program to really meet the need that we see now? Well, really, it's about, as Phoebe had said in the presentation at the top, it's about meeting people in their communities where they live and bringing the food that they need to them. This is a more efficient way to distribute food. So it also helps with distribution because you have more frequent opportunities throughout the week to distribute food, and food is going to arrive to them more fresh and without waste. But we want to do more than just bring food to communities. We're going out there to build relationships with people to better understand their needs and how to meet their needs in the most dignified and accessible manner possible. Mobile food pantry events can be a platform for additional community connections, such as information sharing and outreach, education, gathering information and feedback from folks who are experiencing food insecurity, and developing a sense of community and belonging, building relationships, and hopefully there will also be a sense of fun. Your funding for us this evening would support our 2022 year of exploration as we develop this idea, which has had already a very successful feasibility study, into an active program and explore the features that will work best in our communities. We will present pop-up mobile food pantry events across the region. We'll build relationships with local safety net organizations. We'll align and enhance efforts rather than duplicate or compete with folks who are already doing great work in the communities so that we can enhance them. And we will bring more than food to support the pantry events. And then we will evaluate and refine our plans as we seek to really reach everyone and meet all of their food security needs across the region. So the results of this will be to open channels of communication between the communities, organizations, and their stakeholders, develop a more connected and nimble basic needs system across our region that reaches the most isolated communities that we have, and increase social capital across the smaller communities, especially for vulnerable community members there. So what I want you to take away is that the community kitchen will undertake pop-up pantry events in 2022, and then that's just ahead of piloting the Monadnock Mobile Food Pantry in 2023, the official launch year. We'll be able to start the journey on solid funding, and we can dedicate the resources to creating a more robust program that includes more events, brings more partners and resources to those events, and is able to better market the events and collect more evaluation material from them. Your support for the developmental year will ensure that this new vehicle for community outreach and support will be on track to reach its greatest potential in the shortest possible time frame. And we're also creating an advisory committee as we move forward with this. So we invite anyone who's interested in joining our advisory committee, whether or not we are funded this evening, to reach out to us, and we would love for you to share in the journey with us as we go forward. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phoebe and Sarah. So again, if you have questions, please type them into the chat as the chat function button is at the bottom of your screen if you're on a computer. And we will read those, and Phoebe and Sarah can answer them for you. It was such a thorough presentation. Questions are not popping into people's heads right away. Any questions at all?
Okay, now they're starting to come in. So the first one is, how many towns would be served by this mobile food pantry?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our launch year, our effort would be to reach out to 6 communities across the Monadnock region. And as we grow, we would, checking and making sure that the need is there in the communities we reach, we grow to more, maybe 9 and 12 as we get bigger. And Phoebe, do you want to add anything?
No, it's really easy to find documentation about the poorest communities in our area, sadly. So those are the ones that we're going to be targeting in 2022.
Okay. And there was a related question about how many people you serve now through your existing programs.
For our pantry, we serve about 250 to 300 families a week. And the average family is 3. So, the maximum is about 900 a week.
And are there eligibility criteria?
We are a USDA partner agency, so we follow their financial guidelines, which thankfully have been raised to cover the COVID pandemic, because we're seeing people who are experiencing food insecurity, some of them for the first time in their lives during the pandemic.
So there's a related question to that, which someone's wanting to know what's happened with the community kitchen as a result of COVID. How has it impacted you as an organization?
Well, sadly, what it's had us do is retreat. We have not missed a pantry distribution, but we do it as a drive-through, our version of a drive-through, which, like everything we do, is kind of different, and also where we're placed. So clients still come and they register, we check them in, and then they can either walk or take their bicycle or drive around to the back of the building. And we have staff that put the food in the boot of their car or on the back seat.
In the boot. I love that.
And we also are doing hot meals as well. We never missed hot meals, but they
That's
are
true.
also being delivered at the front of the building instead of being able to open up our dining room, which is very sad, of course.
Another question is, how will you get the food out to these events with just your one refrigerated truck? Or do you have other plans?
We have a large box truck that is refrigerated, and we have a cargo van. So we have the vehicles, and because we're going to do, they're going to be, and this is a learning year, because there is no one model for a mobile food pantry. So what we're trying to do is figure out what works best for this region. So we have vehicles, and what I'm going to do is have an air conditioning unit put on the top of our cargo van so that can be turned into a refrigerated vehicle. So, but I fully expect us to learn as we go, as we do everything. So we can, and before we actually apply for money to buy new vehicles, it's going to be great to actually know what we need.
Right.
Yeah, we're getting close to the end of our Q&A time, so I think we'll go through the questions that are there right now. I think there are 3 or 4 more.
Okay.
And we'll call it. We'll close out the question and answer.
Okay.
How many volunteers do you envision delivering food?
Well, there'll actually be staff members and volunteers. And again, we're taking advice from other agencies that run the mobile food pantry. And this is where we're going to ask for cooperation from agencies that are already in the towns that we're going to come and put the mobile food pantry. Sarah, how many volunteers do we envisage?
Well, I think that it probably takes a good 8 to 10 volunteers along with staff to do a good event. So this is the kind of thing that will be built out. We'd start to build those relationships. And when we do the actual mobile food pantry in 2023 and beyond, we'll add staff and vehicles and all of this infrastructure. That's why we really want to make sure that we use this year to build those relationships and test all of those things.
So there's 2 last questions that are kind of related in that they're about the funding. So they are, would the donation go to the general budget or a separate fund? And would the money be used for food as well as transportation expenses for this?
Sadly, yes, it's going to be used to buy extra food. Right now, we can service our food pantry, but adding additional food pantries to our schedule, we are going to have to buy food. So we're also going to have a few, oddly enough, New England has unpredictable weather. So we're going to have to buy a few, pop-up tents so that our volunteers and our food don't get soaking wet if we are out and it's snowing or raining. But food is the main obstacle to, or actually it's the main thing that we're going to be spending the money on.
Great. I think we've captured them, and I'm sure we're probably over time. So
We are, but I do see that there's a comment. So I'm going to take the liberty of reading the comment. And this is from a member who says, I don't have a question, rather want to thank you for a well thought out plan to implement this. Getting food to people who can't easily get to the kitchen is important. So
Thank you.
know that she would have said that aloud if we were in person. So I wanted to share that. Thank you very much, Sarah and Phoebe.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
So our third presentation is MC Squared Charter School. Eileen Sarson is going to present, and then Elizabeth Cardine will join her for the Q&A.
Let's see. Eileen. Are you there, Eileen?
Yes, she
Good.
is.
Good.
Unmute. Okay. So my name is Eileen Sarson, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to present. I nominated Making Community Connections, a charter school which has been functioning for years, actually under the radar. It's also known as MC Squared, and they would like to have this funding so that they can move to a new campus, a forever home here in Keene. The school started first as part of Monadnock High School in 2002, and it went for about 8 years before it closed. Elizabeth Cardine, who's actually also here with me, along with a student, engineered that this should somehow stay alive. And so through her efforts and others, work continued, and it was chartered as a school in New Hampshire in 2012. In 2000, it opened in Manchester, and 2015, the Keene campus opened. COVID took Manchester, but Keene still survives. The governance is through a board of trustees and an executive director, Chris O'Reilly. He's also, like Elizabeth, a Keene native and educator. There are now 50 students, and the school goes year round. They don't want to do the summer slide. They have up to 3 weeks off between semesters. They work their 4 terms. And I asked Elizabeth, what about summer vacation for families? And she said, oh, students can still go to camps, go on family vacations. We find ways to uncover the learning in any situation. They have gone through the pandemic troubles of virtual only and hybrid, and now they're back in full force starting this year. The students actually have quite the opportunities. I note that they actually have some internships available through MAPS at the school and some available at the community kitchen at the school. They have to do at least 1 a year, up to 4 before they graduate. The internships are considered practical applications. You can find that there's a machine shop student who did an internship and decided to learn trigonometry as a result. Mentors are often long-term with the school, and they will take more chances with students as time goes on because they know the students come to them as strong either employees or just interns. The school does help the students with post-secondary planning, and so they all take an SAT. They all fill out a college application or a secondary school, a post-high school application. And then the students then say, if I want to go to such and such a school, then I really better get this course in now, because the school starts them in sophomore year so that they have plenty of time to make sure that they have what they need. They graduate with interview skills, they have a resume, they have cover letters highlighting all the work they've done on their internships. So who are the students? If you can think about a student that you know, someone that's maybe a niece, nephew, neighbor, a friend, your own child, and say, would they thrive in this school? I talked to Elizabeth about the different students, and she said if you were to put categories on them, and every student is different, you might find some are what they call, what she called to me very informally, really get bored, you know, and maybe that student is the one who learned trigonometry, but he wouldn't have the opportunity in another school. Some students are struggling because they have learning differences. They're trying to keep pace. All the students at MC Squared learn at their own pace. So if someone has dyslexia, it's handled. Somebody might be having issues because they've been bullied because of their gender issues. Maybe 30% of the students have LGBTQ plus issues. And there's another kind of student that might work well at MC squared, and that's the child that wants to learn through their hands, and all the opportunities are there for them. The school has been graduating these students, sending them on to higher education. They find their voice, they learn at their own pace, and through persistent teaching, they incorporate very adult skills. They use the national standards of Common Core. They develop 7 habits for the students, and they embed their day in what do you want to get done today? What's your goal? They work on their plan. At the end of the day, they evaluate how do they do their plan. The school has 4 certified teachers. It has 6 paraprofessionals. They have committed to stay at the school for the last 3 years, which is very interesting. They don't have quite the same salary as the public school teachers. And they develop in these students ownership for their own education. All are accepted. New students come mostly word of mouth. Teachers have close connections to the sending schools, and they find out more students that way. The students help maintain the school because there is no janitor. So they work in many different capacities that you just wouldn't find in another school. They recently helped with a fundraiser for Halloween. There was a haunted house. Over 140 people came to the haunted house. The budget.
Eileen, we're getting a little over time here. So
Okay.
if we want to save time for Q&A, I'm going to have to ask you to wrap up.
Okay, so I looked at their numbers. Their budget is about 1.3, 1.4 million. They're looking for about $100,000 to go and get this new campus retrofitted for them and brought up to safety codes and standards. They will save 5-figure rent. And I think I can let that go. Now, for questions, I am going to have Elizabeth Cardine join me. She's a teacher at the school, and there's a student at the school. And this is talking about a committed relationship. This is a teacher who thought that her child should come to the school. So welcome.
Awesome. If you want to mute yourself, because we're in the same.
Yeah.
Excellent. So I'm Elizabeth. I'm a teacher at MC squared.
Yep.
And my son Martin is here to help answer questions.
So are these students helped by the new state funding for private school students? I realize that this money is given according to need.
Yeah, you're referring to the, it's got a lot of different names, the voucher and the freedom accounts. Is that what you're talking about?
I'm sorry, I'm just reading the question as it's, oh yes, that is.
Okay.
What I'm talking about.
That actually doesn't help our students because we are a public school and our funding is kind of predetermined already. So our students are not eligible for those freedom accounts. We receive a certain amount of adequacy aid. It's about $8,000. It's the same, kind of adequacy aid students that Monadnock and Keene would get. What we don't get is the additional supplemental funds that property taxes supplement. So the cost per student, when I last looked for Keene and Monadnock, were over $12,000. That's a really low estimate. I just don't want to go too high. And we're funding kids on 8. So freedom accounts do not help us, but we have received COVID funding, COVID relief funding. It just can't be used for this purpose.
Do you have a building in mind, or do you want to move?
We have a building, we have a lease that's at a lawyer today. And I'm told as soon as the lease is signed, I can share where the new location is.
Okay. So yeah, there was a question about, are you refitting your space, but it will be for a new space.
It is.
And then a clarifying question, what do you mean by LGBTQ plus issues? It isn't an issue, but rather a part of their identity. How does the school support LGBTQ plus students be themselves?
I mean, I go to the school and a lot of my friends who go there are part of the LGBTQ community. I know at other schools there's often an issue of bullying at that, but here it's just so large a portion of our community that it's not an issue, and a lot of students will like thrive and even discover themselves through the school just because so many of the people are there, and they'll have friends who will like help them through their process. And I think that's a really cool part of our school.
Yeah, I think they meant issues from prior schools.
Right.
With that part of themselves.
Well, someone's asking about the planned retrofitting, but I think we just covered the fact that you'll be moving to a new space. So I don't see another question. So maybe talk about, is the new space something that is just turnkey that you're just moving into, or will you have to really build it out?
No, the $100,000 that we are looking to is to turn what used to be an old mill building, a section of it, into a school. And we're very excited because the new landlord of this building is a wonderful visionary, very community minded and collaborative. But we need to meet not only fire and ADA codes, we have to meet school health and safety codes as well, which thanks to COVID are now much more stringent than they used to be. So we have to put in a new state-of-the-art HVAC system. And we have to make sure like the lighting meets school codes and things like that. So we estimate of the, about $100,000 worth of fit out we need to do. Half of that can be covered from COVID relief. And so we're trying to fundraise the other 50,000 roughly.
And your savings on rent?
Yeah, and when we move there, we will save 5 figures in rent. So that's very exciting for us for our future as well.
The student with dyslexia.
Oh, yeah. I just want to see if there's a question.
There isn't. There's
a
no.
question.
So if you have something, yeah.
There is a one question about leasing the space. You're planning to lease the new
sorry.
space as opposed to own it?
Yes. Yep. The lease versus own for charter schools is a bit tricky in New Hampshire. So it is a lease expectation.
Thanks, Brent.
I think we're getting close to the end of our Q&A time. And again, I'd like to read one comment that came, and that is, my daughter attended MC Square for 3 years and got experience and skills that have positioned her well for college. A very unusual place, but it does amazing things. Graduation last year was on our front lawn, attendance of 6.
Oh, I know who that was.
It came in it came in with the label anonymous. So
yeah, I told Eileen as we were preparing, just from seeing the few people at the tech meet, I would estimate 30 to 40% of you wonderful women either have some direct contact with MC Squared, you know someone who went to it, or you interned with someone, or your business has hosted an intern. It's all over the place in our community, and I love it.
okay, well, thank you so much for that presentation. We do really appreciate it. And now, in a moment, you will see a poll appear on your screen. You have 3 minutes to submit your choice. Don't forget to hit the submit button. And while you fill it out, I'd like to introduce Liz Chipman and Ricky Greenwald from the Keene Housing Kids Collaborative, an organization that we chose last May to tell us how our donations made a difference to the children in our community. So Ricky and Liz.
I think Ricky's going to start.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ricky Greenwald. I'm chairman of the board for Keene Housing Kids Collaborative. Liz and I want to say thank you so much on behalf of ourselves and our board. We're so grateful to have been the recipient of your generosity a few months ago. We applied for the fund specifically for funding for summer opportunities for our students. And why summer opportunities? Why is it so important? Well, our research has shown that kids who do not participate in enrichment activities over the summer lose 2 to 3 months academically, compared with a gain of 1 month academically for students who can, children who can participate in summer activities. So it becomes very, very important to give all children access to the rich diversity of summer programs that are available in our area. And because of your generosity, I want to tell you what we were able to provide, thanks to all of you. We were able to have 78 children applied in 132 activities. We spent a little bit under $13,000 on all of these opportunities. They included going to Stonewall Farm, YMCA Day Camp, Camp Dakota, Kids on Campus at Keene State, basketball camp, AAU Basketball League, baseball, softball, Swansea Lake Day Camp, Swansea Fieldhouse Sports Leagues. A new one for us this year was the Mill Hollow Works Boat Building Workshop, which was just so wonderful for the kids that participated in that. I think Liz is going to show some pictures in a minute. NHDI Dance Camp, Moco Arts, and Cupcake Theater Arts Day Camp. So you can see it was a very, very diverse amount of activities for these students, and it just gave them the boost that they needed academically, emotionally, confidence-wise to re-enter school in the fall. We could not have done this without your generosity. So I want to say thank you so much on behalf of ourselves and the children for what you did. So I think Liz is just going to share a few photos.
I am. I'm going to show you some pictures now. It says the host has disabled participant screen sharing.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. We don't ever allow any
Oh.
screens or whatever. I'm sorry. I thought you were going to hold something up or whatever.
Oh,
but
no.
In general, we don't allow that. Sorry.
Okay, so let's see. I'll just reiterate then what Ricky said, that we had so many kids participate in activities over the summer, and this is something that we couldn't have done without the support of 100%, 100 plus women. So we really, really appreciate it. And I think the added stress of a remote school year, and the fact that many activities for children in the community were closed for many months due to COVID just exponentially increased the importance and the need for kids this past summer in particular to be able to participate and be part of the community, be with other kids, and just get out and do things and reinforce friendships, social connection with their peers. All those really important things that they missed out on in the summer of 2020 for very valid and real safety and health concerns. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Awesome. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Liz and Ricky. We're having a little technical difficulty with the polls, so if you'll talk among yourselves for just a few minutes, we will get right back to you.
Jane, I just sent you a message.
Okay, great. I think we've got it. So the poll's working now. You've got everybody in.
The poll was working. Yep, we're all good.
Okay, great. Okay, so thank you. Sorry, this has been our night of glitches.
I know, it's like, good grief.
We've worked through it. So in a moment, Courtney is going to announce the organization you have chosen this evening. Depending on which organization is chosen, you may have an option of either making an online donation or writing a check and sending it to me. If you make an online donation, please know that most organizations charge a service fee, typically somewhere around 3% of your donation. So a $50 donation online really only nets them $48.50. And many of our members have chosen to add that fee. So instead of making the donation $50, they make it $53. And I'm doing a hypothetical here because we don't know, I don't know who's won yet. And we don't know the amount of that, but nonetheless, they would get all the money that you donated. If it's available, kindly make a note either in the instructions or comments block of the portion of the donation on the online donation website that you are a 100+ women member. And so that will enable them to track and help us to follow how many of our people have made donations. And a link to the online donation page will appear on the email that all of our members are going to get in either late tonight or first thing tomorrow morning. If you choose to send a check, please make it out to the selected organization, not to 100+ Women Who Care, and mail it to me. And you'll see my address on the screen momentarily, or you can find it on the website or in the email tomorrow morning. Or normally, I now remind you that the recipient organization is required not to add your name to their mailing list, though they do have your contact information so that they can thank you. That rule still applies, but sometimes with the online donations, it's a little hard to track that you have been a 100+ member. So if a little glitch occurs, let us know and we will make that right. And just a reminder, you are always welcome to make your donation for any amount greater than $50 if you would like. And you can always write a check to one or both of the organizations that were presented, but are not the selected organization for this evening, in addition to your check for the selected organization. And sometimes people write checks for organizations that were nominated, but weren't even one of the 3 that we heard about this evening. You are really generous women. So mark your calendars for February 7th. And now, Courtney, the honored organization is?
MAPS Counseling Services.
Oh, congratulations to MAPS. And thank you very much for the MC Square Chartered School and the Community Kitchen for your presentations tonight. Thank you all. Have a good evening, and we will see you in February. I love how our meetings follow the season. So the last time we were here, it was summer, and now the leaves are coming off, and next time it's February. So looking forward to that too. Take care, and thanks to everybody for being part of our meeting tonight. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Congratulations, MAPS.
Thanks, everyone.